It's a pleasure and it's an honour to come here and speak in front of everyone. Unlike some of the others today, I'm a bullshark survivor. 2011, I was attacked and my life was supposed to end on that day, but it didn't. So, from then on, my life has taken a different path, and my path is to look after other people. I'm the founder of a support group. That was me the night of my attack. But I now run a support group called Bike Club. I'm not going to quote statistics here today, because when you become one of them statistics mean nothing. Bike Club came about from a need for those affected by shark attacks to find a safe place to communicate about the challenges that we were undergoing and of what we were going to face for the future. I myself thought I was dealing well with my shark attack. I was not too badly injured. I was told I would lose my arm, but as you see, I did not. I believed I was dealing with my attack quite well. My arm was saved. I was positive about getting back to work, and I was looking forward to getting back in the ocean. But after surprising myself by waking up screaming, my partner commented to me that I do it quite a lot and told me I needed to seek help. And so I did. The help I sought was professional, but the professionals could not answer the questions that I had. So I sought out shark attack survivors to answer my questions and to find out whether they were going through what I was going through. I also created relationships with those who I thought might be able to give me answers. And Dr. Pettimore's, I consider a friend of mine now. He has helped me in every way that I've asked. Jean Nativel has also helped me in any way I ask. And I know every side of the shark world from every different angle. And that's how I can now pass my knowledge on to other shark attack survivors. Bike Club is not only about shark attack survivors. We have many rescuers, many responders, family members, and also family members of those who've lost a person to the sea and to the shark. However, not everyone that reached out to us was genuine, and we have had a number of people try and join our group whose intentions were not based on what our group is about. They tried to use our survival stories for their own gain and to get money for their own causes. Unfortunately, when you cast your net, sometimes your bycatch is just not that tasty. So unfortunately, in our group, we had to do some culling, a word that is not good in our world. So since starting this group in 2013, I've had the privilege of spending time with some of the most inspirational people you can meet in this world. People whose lives have been turned upside down and their hopes and dreams for the future have just been shattered. I've had the honour of meeting these people and helping them create new dreams for life. Honestly, it is the best reward anyone can get, is to help somebody else improve their life. But not everyone succeeds. I've also been involved with people whose livelihood has been disrupted so much from the involvement in a shark attack or from the shark attack that they never recover. They never re-enter the ocean, they never re-enter the workforce, and their family is left with a shell of what they used to have. For most people affected by a shark attack, it is always there. Every morning you wake up, you know you were attacked by a shark. When you see a shark attack come on the TV, or you hear a story, or you read something on the internet, you know that that story involves you because it's in your heart. The pain will never leave you. You look at the ocean and the pain is there every time. In my observations, and these are my observations, shark attacks affect more than just the individual. I've calculated that around 20 people are involved in every shark attack that I have come to discuss. It's not only the person, it's the friends that drag them out of the ocean, give them first aid on the beach, save their life, and unfortunately sometimes they don't save their life. It's even the paramedics that come and rescue us from the beaches and get us into hospital, and we've even had surgeons who have worked on us that cannot do their job anymore. The cost is huge. One of the worst things that has happened with our shark attacks is people lose limbs. People's lives get turned upside down and people just cannot live what they were doing. Their lives get affected and the community gets affected. One such area where shark attacks have affected the whole community is the area that Dr. Pettimore spoke of, the surfing area known as Ballina and Byron Bay. It's on Australia's east coast. It is very similar to the west coast here of Reunion. It's a beautiful place. It's a place that you want to go to. It's a place you want to surf. People from all over the world come to Byron Bay and Ballina to enjoy a holiday. But in 2015, Ballina received a huge amount of shark attacks. I won't quote the numbers. I'm not that familiar anymore because I try to forget statistics. But I know it was like I was involved in like 7 or 8 people's lives then, so there was a number. I travelled there 5 times in 2015 to visit people who'd been affected by shark attacks and to talk about what was happening. The photo here is my first visit in 2015. That beach on a normal day would have 50 people in it, and there was not one. There was no ban of surfing. It's just that the people and the community were not going near the ocean. I actually rang a friend and described the situation. To me, it was very emotional. It still is. It was a beautiful day. The ocean was warm, but there was just nobody out there. I went back into town to meet up with a guy who'd been involved in 2 shark attacks, and while I was waiting, I walked into a coffee shop and had a chat with the owner. The owner told me that their business was down 85% at that time, and honestly, at this time, I did not see anyone in town. Local businesses were calling out to the government to do something, to take some action, as they were afraid their town was about to close down and go into recession. At about this time, 2 young girls walked in. They were conducting a survey for their high school about what shark attacks were doing, and they were trying to understand how visitors to the town were thinking about the shark. Very bright young girls, and I was honoured to sit down with them and have a nice half-hour chat. And the man I was meeting, we had to delay ourselves because of the knowledge that they wanted to get from what we had. I also met a man who had been involved in 6 shark attacks in that area. He ended up developing a severe case of post-traumatic stress, which is very common in our group, and I've seen this in other people involved outside of our group with other traumatic events. The post-traumatic stress in him and in others, in myself, can cause very hard times. Broken relationships, drug and alcohol abuse, social exclusion, depression, anxiety and suicide. That's what happens. Not long after this visit, I arranged a meeting with our state premier. It took me to threaten that I would go to the media and say he was not interested in discussing the situation before he agreed to have a meeting with us. And when we eventually sat down and had a talk, like everyone, he was afraid that when I come, I was there to demand action, and I was there to tell him that he needed to do his job. It's not what we were there for. I took a delegation of shark attack survivors with me. Can be seen here. A father who lost a son, a business owner who nearly lost his business, and a man who just can't concentrate on life anymore. We sat down and we explained to the Premier of our state what some of the things we were going through and what some of the things the town of Ballina was going through and what they can expect in the future. We spoke about the death of a young lad on Reunion Island that happened in April 2015. A death that affected the whole surfing world. I remember my feeling the day I heard about Elio's death. It was not good. The Premier, also a father He took a lot away from that meeting, and we had many meetings following. He actually assisted us in kicking off our charity that we're trying to run at the moment. He also had to make some hard decisions, which Dr. Pettimores has been involved in. So on subsequent trips to Ballina and Byron, as the state government decided what was the best course of action and to converse with the community, I seen a town divided and in turmoil, much like I was seeing in some of the early reports from the reunion. Local parents wanted some action, as every time they ventured back into the ocean, there was another shark encounter, there was another bump, there was another bite. Surf shops reporting of a downturn in business, as people were just not buying surfboards. I went to a surf shop while I was there, and I bought a brand new surfboard for less than half price. They needed money just to get the businesses going. Meanwhile, the more conservative Greens wanted no action taken, as it's the sharks' environment, and it's not a good situation. It's not a good situation there, and everyone with an opinion was ridiculed in one way or another from either group, no matter what action was taken by the Department of Prime Ministry or the government or the local council. Somebody was there to ridicule them for what they were doing. It's definitely a no-win situation for everyone. I was once having lunch at a kiosk at Lighthouse Beach. I was meeting with 3 survivors while we were having lunch. And it was not long after the deployment of the smart drum lines, and everybody was feeling good. And while we were having lunch, we saw a Sea Shepherd boat pull up to the smart drum line and start doing something. It was not apparent from where we were what was happening, but people who had been there had reported that Sea Shepherd were removing the baits from the smart drum lines. The mayor of the town was also in that same restaurant having lunch, and he jumped up to his feet and he was straight on the phone to the local police. People that I were with started crying because they could not believe that people would put other humans at risk like this when we finally had some action. Others wanted to run out and cause harm to these people. Emotional the shark world can be. And as a survivor, we are the ones who cop the abuse for some reason. We don't understand why, but it just seems to bring all the nutcases out to come against us. We get attacked just for being attacked. This also leads to mental illness, as we don't think that we can explain to people what it's like to be a shark attack survivor. Bike Club exists to support people who are recovering from the effects of shark attacks. Australia has an excellent health recovery system. We mostly receive free health care, we get excellent health care, we get stitched up, we get a handful of painkillers, and we get sent home. What the healthcare system doesn't consider, and it's not the healthcare system's fault, is that after shark attacks, there is a mental side that we have to deal with. For some of us, it can come on quite suddenly, and it's usually 6 months after our shark attack. So when you think your life is going well, all of a sudden your life falls apart. A recent survivor who was attacked just over a month ago was also involved in a shark attack 20 years ago. I reached out to him while he was still in hospital, and we've had many conversations since. We talked about the first shark attack 20 years ago, and I've also met other people who were involved in this shark attack. And after 20 years, they are still suffering. One lady suffers so much from stress attacks that she can't even work. This man himself admitted to me that he was still suffering from an attack 20 years ago. And he said if a support group like ours was around 20 years ago, maybe they wouldn't be suffering the way they are. For that reason, I would like to put my arms out to the people of Reunion, and I am here for you people, and I would like to get a reunion group of shark attack survivors together who could support each other through the future, because even if there is no more shark attacks, there is still survivors of recent attacks in the last 10 years that need support. I would like to tell you about some of the work we try to do at Bite Club and our charity Beyond the Bite. We try to bring shark attack survivors together. We try to bring people with similar ages, similar injuries, and similar outlooks on life. Here I'm showing you a photo of two guys who were attacked 2 years apart with almost identical injuries. The first guy standing on the left, our right-hand side of that photo, was attacked in 2015, and a 5 metre white swam away with his leg and his surfboard. He was dead for 45 minutes going to the hospital, and it was only the CPR that was conducted by his mates that kept him alive. I spoke to his father not long after his shark attack, and the outlook was never going to be very good for Chris. But against all odds, he did survive, and he survived well. And he is succeeding in life. He has a new career, and he has a great outlook, and we are trying to help him some more. One of the things we did help him was to bring him to our state and to bring the guy on the left, who was attacked just 6 months prior to this meeting with almost an identical injury, down together to meet. We spent 4 days together, and from my first meeting with Glenn, who had that, what we call the 1,000-mile stare, where he just looks into the distance and really does not have any life in his head, to when I put him on the plane to send him home, where you couldn't wipe the smile off his face. You just saw how successful two guys meeting and discussing what life was going to be like, balanced on one leg. And they have balanced their lives quite well. And the guy on the left-hand side now runs his own gym, and he's a kickboxer. Very inspirational. We also received money from a grant from the Department of Prime Ministries, and we used that money to survey 60 shark attack survivors in Australia. And we used the university that conducted that study for us has correlated all that information to try and confirm what our beliefs were, and to take that to the health system to try and help other survivors in the future. I have a link for that if anyone would like to have a look at it later on. But basically our results were that many of us suffer from post-traumatic stress, not much higher than any other traumatic event that people suffer in lives. We always talk car accidents, seems the one we compare to. Domestic violence in Australia is huge, and shark attacks, we all have the same sort of results. What did come up was that a number of our survivors had thought about and tried suicide. So for us, that was not a surprise, but it was a good affirmation of what we believed. I've only been in Reunion for a couple of days, and I'm marvelling at the beauty of your island and wish you all the best in healing this community from the losses the ocean has invoked on you. I was saddened to see the beautiful ocean empty, much like I was when I went to Ballina. And I'm hopeful of the work being conducted by all the fine scientists we have here will make the ocean usable for you again. Like Australia, the ocean surrounds us, and we love to play in the ocean. The ocean is the place where I find my joy, and it's where I wash away my issues. The ocean can feed our people. The ocean can bring tourists who can bring their money. We need the ocean for whatever reason we want. When I talked about my friends that I was coming to Reunion and when I was supposed to be here in December, we talked about being in Reunion. One of my good friends actually had surfed here quite a number of years ago in the late 90s before anything happened, and explains it as one of the best surf waves in the world. Now the WSL used to come here and have a competition, and my mates now tell me, when I talk about Reunion, everybody says, I would love to go there, it is paradise. And I believe them, it is paradise here. It's one of the best waves in the world, but there's the sharks. And the reputation for Reunion is not good at the moment, and that's why I would like to take my message back, that Reunion is having a good go at trying to make it healthy again. So in conclusion, I would like to leave you with this message. I have been involved in the shark world now for 8 years. 8 years on Saturday since I was dragged screaming into the shark world, and I would not miss 1 minute of it. I've learned many things. one of the most important things I've learned since I have been in this life is that my views are not always the best views for everybody. They're the best views for me, but they might not be the best views for you. And by listening to everyone else's views with empathy, I can understand where you're coming from as well. And I can change my views when I realise that I'm wrong. This wisdom comes with age. As you can see, I'm not a young man anymore. And unfortunately, every now and then I have to admit to my wife that she's right. Not the best thing, one of the worst things to come from my shark attack. But I believe by listening to each other with empathy and by talking with respect to each other and working out why we have conflict, we have a future. So I wish for all the stakeholders that are involved in Reunion and all of those from outside of Reunion who are coming to help, communicate respectfully with each other, meet often, and so we can receive a balanced and a successful result for your beautiful island. Thank you.